'Tis the season, but 'tis not just any season. 'Tis the season of YouTube maker Secret Santa. And I am so excited because not only do I get to participate in this event with so many other wonderful people that I respect and admire, but I am Secret Santa for someone that I actually know. And that person is one Crescent Shay. And if you don't already know Shay, you should definitely go check her out. She is a super talented cosplayer, creator, but more importantly, she's just a wonderful person. Now, as luck would have it, I happen to know that she does a little adventuring into some dungeons to potentially slay some dragons because I'm her dungeon master. And that is going to inform my build for her because I'm going to make something fit for an adventurer. And what does every adventurer need? A sick dice box, obviously. Now, Shay is playing as a wizard, so I'm going to make a dice box that is fit for a full spellcaster. Now, I've been doing some research, and there are some really cool dice boxes out there, but most of the time they're just pretty functional, like it's just a hole in a block of wood, and that's totally great. But I'm aiming for a little more magical here, and if whatever I build doesn't have a microcontroller and LEDs and some other electronic nonsense, what am I even doing here? So I'm going to mark that down as a feature that it holds dice, but I'm going to need to punch that up a bit. Now, just being a dice box doesn't seem like enough. Also, I've marked out 3 bullet points on this piece of paper here, so let's add another feature. Because once you've got dice, you gotta throw them. And that can get a little messy on small tables, and one solution is the humble dice tower. So just drop your dice in, and they spill out into a nice little container, safe and sound. So let's add that as a feature to our custom dice box. And for our last feature, we need to talk about the dice themselves because the standard set of dice for a D&D player is 7 unique die. And when you're casting a lot of spells, you need a lot more dice. And obviously you can just buy a lot of dice or roll the same die over and over, but that can be a chore. So how can I give Shay all the dice she needs? Maybe I'll just give her infinite dice. Oh, I didn't actually go anywhere or like take a nap or anything. I'm just pretending that there was a transition because it felt like a natural break in the video, and let's just talk about 3D modeling, huh? Whenever I'm modeling something, I always like to prioritize finding out what the biggest constraint is first. Now, there are a lot of little things that my build has to accomplish, but I need to figure out what that main limitation is. And in this case, that's probably going to be size, because I want this to be as big as possible, but also easy to 3D print. So it has to fit on the build plate of my 3D printers. So I've spec'd it out to be 240 millimeters in diameter. This leaves some margin for a brim, and the circular shape is more material efficient. Now that defines the maximum width and height of our device, but what about the thickness? Let's zoom in on the 3D model here, because the main mechanical feature of the device is the dice tower. The thickness of the tower is going to drive a lot of the design, and that thickness depends on the dice. The models I've got roughly fit within a 22 millimeter sphere, so to leave some extra clearance, I designed the tower to be 25 millimeters thick and also extruded it straight from the lid so it's easier to assemble. I also capped off the face of the tower with a custom plate for Shay's character, and it's basically nearly complete. But let's actually test it out with some dice. I think that'll do. I really want this device to feel magical, and regular power switches aren't gonna cut it. So I've designed the lid itself to act as the power switch. There are 2 little nubbins that stick out near the top of the lid, and these hit some micro switches that are recessed into the main box. The device is powered by this USB boost converter that has pins to disable the output. So the lid and switch will cut power when it's closed and automatically power on when you simply open the lid. And since magnets are also magical, I added 2 to the bottom of the lid and tower so that it silently snaps into place when you open it. So now that I've got the dice tower portion and the lid figured out for my design, it's time to focus on the actual dice box. And since most dice boxes are pretty simple, it's just an empty volume to hold the dice, I need to really think on how to make that, magical. That's the whole point of this build. And since I picked up crystal clear dice for Shay, I decided it would be fun to hide RGB LEDs underneath to make them sparkle. I split the dice box into 2 drawers for 3 dice each, with the 7th hanging out in the pocket of the dice tower to keep that good symmetry. The drawers have a conical design so that the dice naturally settle in the center. There's a through bore for the light to pass through, and at the bottom of the bore, I'm using these little translucent rubber feet to diffuse the light and hide the LEDs a bit. Underneath the feet, I've got these single NeoPixel dots that will be hot glued in place. The wiring for these is guided back through a hole in the drawer carriage, so hopefully nothing gets pinched. It's not ideal, but it'll do. Now there's a little more to these drawers than meets the eye because I really want them to transform, or at least, move. I modeled the drawers with bushings to ride on shafts, but since I didn't give myself enough time, I didn't use the right hardware. I tried to get away with using partially threaded bolts as linear shafts in a pinch, but a linear motion system it does not make. I modeled a servo with a pinion on the horn to drive the rack on the carriage, but since the force isn't equal on both sides and there's also excess play between the bushings and bolts, it does work, but it binds up. I know how to fix this, but the servos are integrated into the largest print, and there's not enough time to guarantee a successful revision, so out come the servo gears. Instead, I added tiny little handles to the face of the drawers so that it could be pulled out by hand. I definitely want to revisit this part of the build because I know I can make it work, but that'll be for another time. Now I can't actually give Shay infinite physical dice, but I can give her infinite virtual dice because I'm integrating a digital dice roller into the dice box. I'm using this super cool round LCD as the main display and two rotary encoders for the input. Using the digital dice roller is pretty straightforward. The left knob dials in how many dice you want to roll, and the right knob selects which type of die you want to roll. Pressing the right knob in casts the dice, so whether you just want to toss a single D4 or 100 D12, the system will roll them all and show you the randomly generated sum. As an extra flourish, since the microcontroller I'm using has an integrated microSD card slot, I decided to store some sound effects to be played via an integrated amp and a little speaker. When you open the box, you get a wake-up chime. When you cast the dice, you get a virtual dice roll. After a few seconds, the total shimmers away with a vanishing noise, ready to cast your next spell. There's definitely a lot more I could do to punch up the user experience of this design, but I'm really focusing on not letting perfect be the enemy of good. That's something I struggle with all the time. And my goal was to build something that's useful, personal, and just a little bit magical for Shay. So I think I got pretty close, and I hope she likes it. And I can't wait for her to use it in our next D&D session. So I've packed up her magic dice box, and it's all ready to go. Now's the part of the video where I pretend to hear a doorbell, and then stage the gifts from my Secret Santa outside my door as if I'm finding them mid-video. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. But I wonder who it's from. All right, so I have no idea what's inside these boxes, but knowing it's a hacksmith, I'd hazard a guess that this smaller box might be some swag, but this big box could be anything, and I can't wait to open it. So let's tear into this thing. I had to cut out the audio of this clip because I couldn't stop swearing. My Secret Santa is James Hobson, aka the Hacksmith. I'm losing it because not only did he build a full-on level 2 sentry from TF2 with a custom ammo belt and Hacksmith styling, but the bolts are even custom TF2 logos. Ah! Now he didn't just send me this incredible sentry, which would be absolutely phenomenal on its own, but he also sent over this customized hard hat, knee pads, welding goggles, this engineer glove, safety glasses, a remote for the sentry, spare parts, a deck of cards, tool accessories, a signed white mini saber with color changing inserts, and this notebook. All right, let's read what he wrote. DJ, I was so excited to draw your name for this year's Maker Secret Santa. I've been wanting to make a legit big brother to my cute little Orbi security camera turret, and when I saw you'd already built an epic level 1 sentry turret from TF2, I knew I had to make you a bigger one. Definitely went over budget, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Designing and manufacturing a new minigun belt was probably a bit excessive, but hey, I'm sure you get ADHD rabbit holes. I definitely do. Anyway, enjoy. I'll send the files in case anything breaks. James. P.S. You better wear the costume in your video. Oh, I absolutely will wear the costume. All right, let's set this thing up. I set up the ammo belts and plugged everything in, so it should be good to go. All right, now we're gonna try this in full auto mode, which I haven't tried out yet. So let's just give that a go. Oh, jeez. Oh my God. The tracking's pretty good. It's pretty responsive, but thankfully, okay, yeah, it's out of darts. It's out of darts. Oh, Jesus. There's a couple darts left that didn't get fired, but I'm okay with that. Oh man, this thing is a menace. James, thank you again. This thing is freaking incredible. I can't stop smiling every time I walk into my shop and see it. Guys, go watch James's build and go watch Shay's video and see her unboxing of my gift, and go watch everyone's video because I can't wait to see what everyone made, and I'm sure it's going to be incredible. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the new year.